Welcome to Coffee with Craig. I want to talk to you today about the beginning of the Trump era. That's right, today is the day where President-elect Donald Trump becomes President Donald Trump, where we actually finally get rid of Mr. Obama, the nation's number one seller of firearms or marketer of firearms, however you want to put it. So what I wanted to talk about today was kind of talk a little bit about what does the Trump era, or what is that going to mean, at least the beginning of it, for gun rights? What is that going to mean for us? I mean, I get tons of emails and Facebook messages from people asking, well, is the federal government going to come in and save us? And what are they going to do? And how are they going to deal with some of the stuff? Because some of you live in states that actually believe in the Second Amendment and allow you to exercise your right to keep and bear arms and don't infringe upon it. Some of us live behind the West Coast wall of gun control. Some of y'all on the East Coast as well. But our rights are restricted, and so to a certain degree, we're wondering, how is this going to this change in power in Washington D.C. going to affect us 3,000 miles away or in whatever state you're in? The first thing to note is Trump started off right with the selection of Jeff Sessions as his attorney general. That's the top law enforcement officer in the country. And in case you haven't noticed, the last 8 years we've had attorneys general who were more focused on environmentalism, who are more focused on social justice, who are more focused on certain civil rights for certain people. Instead, now we're going to have an attorney general that believes in all civil rights for all people, whose number one goal and priority is to make sure that the law is enforced and to make sure that the constitutional rights of American citizens are protected. Anyone who has talked to you who actually actually knows Jeff Sessions says that's the thing about him. He believes in the rule of law, which, we believe in the rule of law. We just need to make sure that that law is just and in line with our fundamental human rights and our constitutional rights. And Jeff Sessions is a great selection in that particular case. Now, the most important thing that we can expect from Donald Trump has to do with his judicial appointments. All right, he's going to have about 103 judicial appointments, from district to appellate court level to circuit courts, all the way to the Supreme Court. He's going to have a seat to fill. Filling those seats is going to be vital. It's going to be very, very important that, not just that he puts people in place who believe in the Second Amendment, but people who are strict constitutionalists. Because the great thing about that is that, what's happening now is they're not just using the Second Amendment. They're not just infringing upon the Second Amendment. They're using other rights in order to infringe on our Second Amendment rights. They're limiting where we can talk about or advertise firearms. They're seeking to seize our personal property, firearms. They're also seeking to eliminate due process through things like gun violence restraining orders or the no-fly, no-buy list. So it's important that we have justices who actually understand, who are strict constructionists, largely, or originalists, largely in the vein of like an Antonin Scalia, who says, look, I want to interpret the Constitution based on what they believed and what they meant at that time. And then how that then also relates to today. So it's going to be vitally important. We need to push President Trump to fill those 103 vacancies. I'm like this. I believe, 100 judges in 100 days. Get them done. You already have a nice long list of potential appointees. Let's start moving these guys guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, through the process, and let's get them on the bench. And let's get a Supreme Court justice so that we can actually have an opportunity to hear some of these very important cases that are coming forward, so we can actually get a chance to have those cases heard. Now, there's specific proposals that are more legislative proposals, like national reciprocity, an end to the ban on silencers, the end of the national policy on gun-free zones, Those are all going to depend on congressional action. And what we've seen is the election of Donald Trump has spurred a number of congressmen into action. So we've seen a number of these things being introduced in Congress. We've seen the formation of a Second Amendment caucus in the Congress. So we're seeing a boldness, folks who are stepping up in order to put forward and push legislation that is going to either expand our protections or are going to at least hold our protections when it comes to the Second Amendment. And it's important that Donald Trump support those pieces of legislation when they come to his desk. And the great thing is that he's already made comments supporting a number of these various different pieces of legislation. One of the challenges that we're going to have, though, is when it comes to how things are how the federal government and federal law is going to interact with state law. That's the thing that the challenge that we're going to have. Now, one could, and that leads me to the next area, which is to me an area of concern when it comes to the election of Donald Trump. And that is this. That is that many people are going to become complacent and say, well, Donald Trump is going to fix it. You know what, folks, let me just tell you something. Any great movement, it's not the leader who makes it happen. It's the grassroots. It's the people who make it happen. If changes are going to occur, it's going to occur because we, the people, stand up and rise up and fight and work with that leadership, in this case at the federal level, in order to make it happen. Right now, what's happening is the gun grabbers have already decided they know that they're not going to be successful at the federal level. They already realize that. They've lost both houses of Congress. They're about to lose a number of opportunities in the judiciary, and they've lost the White House. So what they're doing now is they're coming to the states. And I think they saw the writing on the wall because they've already started it. Look at what's happening in Washington and Oregon. Look at what's already happening in California and what will likely continue to happen. Even in places like New Mexico and Arizona, you're seeing some of this stuff being introduced. So folks, the war is now coming to the states. In fact, California is gearing up wholeheartedly. They brought in Javier Becerra to be the Attorney General, and the number one reason why he was selected, go back and listen to all of the testimony and the questions that were asked. It's all around how are you going to stand up to Donald Trump? How are you going to stand up to the federal government? Are you going to sue the federal government if they try to overstep their bounds or if they try to impose, constitutional law, which is not, by the way, overstepping your bounds, on the state of California? How are you going to do that? They even brought in former Attorney General Eric Holder. They hired his law firm, the legislature did, once again, in order to help them be able to defend themselves against against Donald Trump and the Trump administration. My point is here, folks, is the war is just beginning. The fight is just beginning. Now we've got an opportunity to be successful. So we've got to start to take advantage of the fact that we're starting to win the war at the federal level, and start then to take back some of the ground here in the state of California, in Oregon, in Nevada. Start to take back that ground and make sure that the gun grabbers or the anti-Second Amendment folks, that they continue to stay on the losing end of a number of these battles. Anyway, that's my take. That's what I believe the Trump administration, the new Trump era, is going to mean. It ought to not cause us as grassroots folks to sit back and relax and be like, oh yeah, Trump's got this. No, we need to step up. Now's the time to press in. Now's the time to get more active. Now's the time to get more aggressive in the things and the protections that we're seeking, that are outlined in our Constitution, that we're supposed to have. Anyway, so let's see what you folks have to say. What do you believe the Trump era will mean for gun rights? How do you believe that is going to impact our battle at the grassroots level? Let's see, it's going to be a long fight, but needs to be done. That's frank. Yes, it is going to be a long fight. Keep in mind, every generation is going to have to fight for their rights, fight to defend their way of life. Every generation. And if our generation doesn't do it, then we put the burden on the next generation. They've got to dig out of the hole that we allowed to be dug. It's a matter of time until the phenomenon that's already swept most of the country reaches the sea. I have faith in our country. That's Dennis Santiago. I too have faith in our country. You know, a lot of people ask me, well, Craig, why don't you just leave California? I'm like, you know what? This is my home. This is where I was born, where I was raised, where I've raised my children. I'm not so ready to give up here in California. Keep in mind, this is the Golden State. This is the state that elected Ronald Reagan. This is the state, that has, that has been, I mean, we've always been kind of a center right or a center left state, but we generally have always leaned conservative a number of times on a number of issues. And it's only in recent history that we've taken this far leap to the left. And as we start to watch, as the California economy starts to fall, starts to falter, you're going to start to see people start to hopefully wake up and start to stand up for their rights. Let's see here. We've got the police state will only increase in the New World Order. You'll see, that's from Greg. Well, you know what, Greg? The police state can only increase if we allow it to. So if you want to sit back and you want to believe, well, I'm not going to do anything because it's going to increase anyway, then guess what? It will. If you sit back and you allow it to happen, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I'm not going to be part of that self-fulfilling prophecy. If it happens, you know what? I'm going to go down fighting. That's just me. You can decide to cut and run if you want. I'm going to go down fighting if I got to go down. Keep up the good fight, Craig. That's from Emmanuel. Thank you so much. Diane Fine. I don't even know what that is. Whatever happened to open carry in California? Yeah, Diane Feinstein. Well, no, actually there was a law that passed in the state of California that banned open carry, and now there is a lawsuit that is going after open carry because, all right, so if we don't have a constitution, the Ninth Circuit said we don't have a constitutional right to conceal carry. At the same time, we don't have because of the law, we don't have the ability to open carry. So the question is, do we have a right to bear arms? Does the Second Amendment say that we have a right to bear arms? And if we do, how do we do that if we don't have a right to close carry and we can't legally open carry? And that's what, between those two lawsuits, hopefully the goal is, and a President Donald Trump appointee to the Supreme Court will hopefully help us to get an answer to that question. Let's see here. Luis Sanchez. Exactly, Craig. This is my home also. We won't retreat, and we stay at ground zero and put up the fight. Yeah, that's the other thing, folks. Look, right now, the stuff that's being introduced, we're in a position where we're fighting it, not just legislatively, but we're fighting it in court. Because ultimately, if no one's here to fight, if no one's here to file these lawsuits, if no one's doing this stuff, well, then this stuff just sweeps across the country, period. So it's important that there is somebody behind enemy lines fighting the good fight. And that's why we appreciate so many of you out there who support us at FPC, because you guys get it, and it's sometimes not an easy thing to get. It can be very easy to get discouraged and give up and move on. But you know what? Nobody thought Donald Trump could get elected president. And yet, here we are. Folks, that's going to be it for today. I want to thank you guys. I hope you guys all have a fantastic weekend and enjoy the inauguration today. And hey, let's make America great again.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.